You know that space, that strange in-between place right before you fall asleep? You're lying there, the lights are off, your body is starting to relax, and your mind goes somewhere else entirely. Sometimes it's memories, random ones, your third-grade classroom, a conversation from 5 years ago, the way someone laughed at something you said. Sometimes it's imaginary scenarios, conversations that never happened, arguments you'd win if you could go back in time, fantasy versions of your life where everything went differently. Sometimes it's just weird, nonsensical. You're thinking about your to-do list and suddenly you're thinking about holding nail polish remover while making a face, and you don't know why those words are in your head or where they came from. Someone online described it perfectly. They said they get into this ethereal spiral of logic just before sleep, where their brain pursues a line of thought, then abandons it and starts another, or elevates it into something almost crazy. The thoughts don't quite make sense, but they also don't quite not make sense. It's like your brain is playing a game with itself, making connections that wouldn't exist in daylight, following paths that lead nowhere and everywhere at once. Where does your mind go in those minutes before sleep? And why does it feel so different from regular thinking? There's a name for this state. The scientists call it hypnagogia, the transition between wakefulness and sleep, the threshold, the borderland, the place where you're not quite awake anymore, but not quite asleep yet. And it's fascinating because in that state, you're literally a different person. Your brain is functioning differently. The part of your brain that handles logic, decision-making, conscious control, the prefrontal cortex, it's starting to power down. And when that happens, other parts take over. The parts that handle dreams, imagination, free association. So the thoughts that come aren't logical in the usual sense. They're something else, more fluid, more creative, more strange. Vladimir Nabokov wrote about this beautifully. He said just before falling asleep, he'd become aware of a kind of one-sided conversation going on in his mind, completely independently from the natural train of his thoughts. Independently, that's the key word. The thoughts aren't coming from you exactly, they're coming from some other part of you, some part that doesn't usually get to speak while you're awake and in control. People report all kinds of experiences in this state. Visual images, seeing faces, patterns, lights, hearing sounds, voices, music, random words, feeling sensations, floating, falling, your body changing shape or size. And it can be incredibly vivid, more vivid than regular thoughts, almost hallucinatory. You see something and for a moment you're not sure if it's real or not. You hear your name called and you open your eyes, but no one's there. One person described lying in bed feeling like their bed was a boat, gently rocking on water. Another said they felt like they were expanding, getting bigger and bigger until they filled the room. These aren't dreams yet. Dreams have narratives, stories, sequences. These are fragments, flashes, brief images that appear and disappear, thoughts that don't quite complete themselves. Researchers studying this found something interesting. As you drift towards sleep, your thoughts change. Early on, you're still thinking about the past and present, things that happened today, things you need to do tomorrow. But thoughts about the future start to decrease. You become more focused on now and what was, less on what will be. And your thoughts shift from cognitive, thinking about doing something, to motor, imagining doing something. You move from planning to experiencing, from abstract to visceral. It's like your brain is transitioning from thinking mode to experiencing mode, getting ready for dreams, where you don't think about things, you live them. But here's what's really interesting. Not everyone experiences hypnagogia the same way. Good sleepers, people who fall asleep easily, they report mostly visual, dreamlike experiences as they drift off. They see things, they imagine scenes, they're already halfway into dreams before they're even asleep. But people who struggle with insomnia, their pre-sleep thoughts are different. less visual, more focused on planning and problem solving. They're lying there thinking about what they need to do tomorrow, worrying about things, trying to figure things out. And here's the cruel irony. The more you try to sleep, the more awake you become. Because trying engages that prefrontal cortex, that logical, controlling part of the brain, the part that needs to shut down for sleep to happen. So people with insomnia are stuck. Their minds won't wander into that strange hypnagogic space because they're too busy thinking about sleep, stressing about sleep, which keeps them awake, which makes them stress more. Some people, though, they use the pre-sleep time intentionally. They create elaborate fantasy scenarios, whole worlds they've built in their imagination, and every night they return to those worlds, continue the stories, live out adventures that exist only in their minds. One person said as soon as they turn out the light, their mind immediately jumps into their imaginary world. It's their reward after a day of productivity, their escape. And eventually, sleep just happens, usually after an hour or so of this mental storytelling. Is that healthy? Is it a problem? Hard to say. For some people, it works. It's how they relax, how they transition from the stress of the day into rest. For others, it keeps them up. They get so absorbed in the imaginary scenarios that sleep gets pushed further and further away. There's no right way to do it, really. Everyone's mind goes somewhere different in those pre-sleep minutes. Some people replay their day, reviewing what happened, analyzing conversations, cringing at things they said or did. Some people plan tomorrow, making mental to-do lists, rehearsing difficult conversations, preparing for what's coming. Some people worry about money, health, relationships, work, the future, the past, everything and nothing. Some people daydream about lives they could have lived, versions of themselves that exist in parallel universes, fantasies that make them feel less trapped in reality. And some people, this is the weird one, they experience what's called the Tetris effect. If you've spent all day doing some repetitive activity, especially something new, you'll see it in your pre-sleep thoughts. If you've been playing Tetris, you see falling blocks. If you've been driving all day, you feel like you're still in the car. If you've been doing math, you see equations. Your brain is still processing, still integrating, still trying to make sense of all the information it absorbed during the day. And the really strange part is, this happens even in people with amnesia. People who can't consciously remember playing Tetris will still see the blocks falling as they drift to sleep. The memory is there in some form, even though they can't access it. So what's happening in the brain during all this? The electrical activity in hypnagogia looks surprisingly similar to REM sleep, the deep sleep where most dreams happen, which is strange because hypnagogia happens in stage 1 sleep, when you barely even realize you've been asleep if someone wakes you up. But the brain activity is similar. The same loosening of logical constraints, the same visual cortex activity, the same free association and creativity, which is why some of history's greatest thinkers deliberately induced hypnagogia to solve problems. Thomas Edison would nap with ball bearings in his hand. As soon as he started to fall asleep, his hand would relax, the ball bearings would fall and wake him up, and he'd be back in that hypnagogic state, that creative, boundaryless space where solutions appear. Salvador Dali did the same thing. August Kekule discovered the structure of benzene this way. He saw snakes dancing in his mind's eye, and one formed a circle, biting its own tail. And suddenly he understood. Benzene is a ring. The hypnagogic state is fertile ground for creativity because the usual rules don't apply. Your brain makes connections it wouldn't normally make, sees patterns it wouldn't normally see, combines ideas that don't normally go together. You're still conscious enough to observe what's happening, but unconscious enough that the logical filters are off, the critic is asleep, the censor is gone. And sometimes in that space, truth emerges. Not logical truth, but deeper truth, intuitive truth, the kind you can't arrive at through reason alone.
A Harvard psychologist found that hypnagogia is especially good at solving problems that benefit from hallucinatory images being critically examined while still before the eyes. You see something strange in your mind, and part of you is still awake enough to think, that's interesting. What does that mean? But there's a catch. Hypnagogia comes with amnesia. You forget most of what happens there. The thoughts slip away as soon as you try to grab them. The images fade. The insights vanish. That's why Edison and Dali used their tricks. They needed to wake up before they fully fell asleep so they could capture what they'd seen.
How many brilliant ideas have been lost to hypnagogia? How many solutions have appeared in that liminal space and then dissolved into sleep? You've probably experienced it, that moment when you're drifting off and suddenly you think of the perfect solution to a problem, or you remember something you forgot, or you have a realization that feels profound, and you think, I need to remember this. This is important. And then you wake up hours later and it's gone, completely gone. You know you thought something important, but you can't remember what it was, like trying to remember a dream. The harder you try, the faster it slips away. That's the nature of hypnagogia. It's a doorway you pass through but can't stay in, a space between spaces, a moment between moments. And in that space, your mind is free from the constraints of logic, time, reality, free to wander wherever it wants, to think whatever it wants, to be whatever it wants. Some people find this terrifying, the loss of control, the strange thoughts, the weird sensations, especially if you experience sleep paralysis, when your body is immobile, but your mind is awake, and you can't move, and sometimes you hallucinate, and it feels like there's something in the room with you. That's hypnagogia gone wrong. The system's not shutting down in the right order, your body paralyzing itself, which is normal during sleep, to keep you from acting out dreams, but your mind still being partially conscious. It's frightening when it happens, but it's not dangerous. It's just a glitch in the transition. Your brain will figure it out. You'll fall fully asleep, or you'll wake fully up, and the paralysis will end. But for most people, most of the time, hypnagogia isn't scary. It's just weird, interesting, strange in a neutral kind of way. Your thoughts doing things thoughts don't usually do. Your mind going places it doesn't usually go. And there's something beautiful about that, isn't there? That every single night you pass through this state, this altered consciousness, this different way of being. You're not the same person in hypnagogia that you are during the day. The researchers say it explicitly. You're a different person as you enter sleep onset. You have shifts in the way the brain associates information, but you retain elements of your waking self. A different person, but still you. Who is that person? The you that exists in the borderland between waking and sleeping. The you that thinks thoughts you don't consciously choose. The you that sees things that aren't there. Maybe that's your unconscious, your dreaming self. The part of you that exists below the surface, usually hidden, only emerging when the conscious mind relaxes its grip. Or maybe it's just your brain doing brain things, neurons firing in patterns that create the illusion of experience. No deeper meaning, just biology. But here's the thing, even if it's just biology, it's still profound, because it's your biology, your neurons, your patterns, your unique brain creating unique experiences that no one else will ever have. The thoughts you think before sleep, they're yours alone. Nobody else thinks quite the same thoughts in quite the same way. Even if the content is similar, the experience is uniquely yours. And every night you get to visit this strange space, this in-between, this threshold where the rules change and anything can happen. Some nights you're in control, deliberately imagining pleasant scenarios. Other nights your mind takes you places you didn't plan to go. Memories surface without permission. Worries intrude. Strange phrases pop into your head from nowhere. And you just watch it happen. You're the observer of your own mind doing its thing. Sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's bizarre, sometimes it's painful, sometimes it's comforting. But it's always yours, this strange private experience that happens every single night, this transition you make from consciousness to unconsciousness, to self, to not quite self, to something else entirely. Most people don't pay much attention to it. They're focused on falling asleep, not on the journey there. The destination, not the process. But the process is where the interesting stuff happens. That's where your mind reveals itself, where thoughts emerge that you didn't know you were thinking, where feelings surface that you've been pushing down, where creativity sparks, where memory rearranges itself, where meaning gets made and unmade and remade. The minutes before sleep might be when you're most yourself, or least yourself, or some version of yourself that only exists in that moment, in that state, in that strange and liminal space. What happens in those minutes? Your mind goes wandering, sometimes in circles, sometimes in spirals, sometimes in straight lines to nowhere, sometimes to places you've been, sometimes to places that don't exist. It goes where it needs to go, to process the day, to prepare for tomorrow, to escape reality, to create beauty, to remember, to forget, to just be. And then at some point, you never know quite when, the wandering stops, the thoughts dissolve, the images fade away, the sensations drift away, and you're asleep, fully asleep, gone. Until tomorrow night when it happens all over again. Your mind finding its way to that threshold, that borderland, that strange space between being awake and being asleep, where your thoughts aren't quite yours, but also completely yours, where reality bends, where time stretches, where anything can happen, and usually does. The minutes before sleep, the hypnagogic state, the threshold consciousness. It's there every night, waiting for you, this small daily mystery, this brief altered state, this doorway your mind passes through on its way to dreams. Pay attention to it sometime. See where your mind goes. Notice the strange thoughts, the weird images, the random connections. Don't try to control it. Don't try to make sense of it. Just observe. Because it's yours, this strange experience, this altered consciousness, this different way of being human. And it happens every single night. This small miracle, this daily transformation, this journey from one kind of consciousness to another kind. Most of us don't think about it. We just fall asleep. The transition happens automatically, unconsciously, without our awareness. But it's happening every night. Your mind doing this strange and beautiful thing, wandering, transforming, letting go, and then returning the next morning, ready to do it all again. That's what happens in the minutes before you fall asleep. Your mind goes wandering, and sometimes, if you're lucky, if you're paying attention, you get to see where it goes. Into memories, into fantasies, into fears, into hopes, into nonsense, into meaning, into mystery. Into that strange space where you're not quite you anymore, or maybe where you're more you than ever, or maybe where the distinction doesn't matter, where you're just consciousness, transitioning, thoughts wandering, a mind letting go, until tomorrow night when it happens again, as it always does, as it always will. The eternal threshold, the nightly mystery, the minutes before sleep. Where does your mind go?